Welcome to It Can Get Better Than This. I'm Heather Hodge,
And I'm Dr. Cindy Byler.
and today we are talking about neuropathways, right?
Yes, this is season 2. And through this season, we are going to be doing more of how to's. In our first season, we did a lot of laying foundational information groundwork so that we could talk about things in the coming episodes.
Yes, I'm very excited. This is
So,
going to be a good season.
so I'm going to just do some review off of from our episode 3 from
Yeah.
season 1. We called Stretchy Brain.
Stretchy brain.
And so I just want to do a little review and then talk about the how to's in case you haven't listened to it. But what is it? Repetition is the mother of learning. So here we go. So it was once believed that our brains developed until our 5th birthday, and then we have what we have, and our brains no longer develop. But over the last couple of decades now, scientists have figured out or they have discovered that our brains have what is called plasticity. And I used to not be able to say that word, but I can say that word really good now. Plasticity. That means our brains can change throughout our entire lives, which
wow.
is great news. So 2 pieces of information. The first is on your screen, you're going to see a Neuropathways image. This is what the inside of our brains look like with neuropathways. We have over 100 billion neurons within our brains. Each neuron connects to other neurons, usually 1 to 2,000 others. And neurons are the information processors in our brains. They're different sizes and shapes, and they have different jobs. And what they do is they link together to send information from one neuron to the next and create networks. They're responsible for all of our thoughts, sensations, feelings, and actions. Just a little bit of trivia that doesn't really matter a whole lot, but there's actually no physical connection between the 2 neurons.
Oh, wow.
There's a gap between the neurons. Yeah, there's a space, and we call that a synapse. And so everything with our neurons, communication happens electronically. So we have electronics going on in our head at all times. Electricity.
Electrically. Yeah.
Electrically.
That's
Not
cool.
electronically. There's
So
no
they zap
electronics
each
in your
o-
head.
Whoops. So they zap each other back and forth.
Right, right. Shoo, 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 shoo. So an average neuron forms approximately 1,000 to 10,000 synapses with other neurons, and they can form new ones, and they also can strengthen ones that have already been created. The more that the neurons connect, the more the chemicals flow through it, the stronger and deeper that it gets. And what happens is these neurons form a web, as you can see in our little picture of them, throughout your brain so that you can think or do something. This is how we get our thoughts and our actions and our feelings. So the more often that you think or do something a certain way, the larger and stronger and deeper the neural pathway becomes. So that's why you can get up in the morning and go through a routine that you go through every day and not even really think about it. And maybe when you're at work or school or whatever, oh, did I actually brush my teeth? And you're not always conscious of what you're doing because your neural pathways are just doing the work for you. That's how we form habits.
Or like on your drive home, a lot of times people won't remember the drive home from work.
Right, right. When brain cells communicate frequently, the connection between them gets stronger, and then the stronger it gets and the more it happens, the faster it becomes. So that's why it's so important to form good habits, because this is how habits are created. Your brain can learn and heal and grow, which is great news throughout your entire life.
That's really cool.
So today I would like to do some how-to scenarios about how to use this information for our everyday lives, especially within our relationships. So when you learn to play the piano, you practice your scales or the piece of music over and over again. If any of you have ever taken piano or learned any kind of musical instrument, you know the grueling task of practicing and practicing and practicing.
Yeah, my husband played baseball, and that was one of the things that he would do is throw the ball over and over, make sure that whatever he was doing to throw the ball, like his arm position or the way he was standing or whatever, he'd have to practice that over and over again so
Mhm.
that it would be like muscle memory
Right.
on game day or at practice.
Right.
So
Right. And we call it muscle memory. It's also working our neural pathways so that every part of our brain that needs to perform that task, whether it's playing the piano or it's pitching the ball a certain way, or even when you're shooting hoops. So basketball players will shoot hoops over and over and over again from different angles, and then the free throw, so that when it's time to do it, those neural pathways, every part of your brain that needs to perform that function has developed the strong enough and deep enough neural pathways so that it just happens.
it
Like
can show up for
everything.
you.
Yeah, it shows
Yeah.
up for you. That's a good way to put it. So, yeah, and most of us that have ever learned how to play an instrument or tried to learn how to play an instrument know the grueling task that takes, or playing a sport where it's boring, but it's really necessary so that you, when it's game day or when it's time to, oh, it's recital day, that you can play that piece or shoot that hoop exactly the way you want to that day.
Mm.
And it takes lots of practice and intentionality. So you can do the same thing with other aspects of your life. Um, Many of us are negative thinkers. We naturally tend to think in a downward spiral. Um, Even when things are going better in our lives, if we've been through a particularly difficult time, it's more difficult to get out of it because that is how most of us are wired, is to be more pessimistic. It's kind of the survival instinct within us. And thinking things like, I'm not going anywhere, my life is terrible. And we tend to look at the negative instead of the positive. The problem with this, besides that it puts you in a grumpy mood and you're not really looking at life from a realist perspective, the more that you think this way and ruminate on it, the deeper and stronger the neural pathways become. So if you've been thinking about this way your whole life, those pathways are really deep and really strong and more difficult to get out of. But there is hope. You can change the way that you think. And it's really important to do that as well. It takes a lot of intentionality and a lot of um, closing or interrupting the loop. So neural pathways, they don't really go this way, but they go in, like, they don't go in a circle, but we
It's
can look at it
cyclical
as like,
thinking.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what we need to do, instead of continuing to go around and around in this thinking, we need to interrupt it with something.
Mm.
Um, I have many clients who struggle this way, and I ask them to write down several things to combat those negative thoughts, that things that are positive, and write them down in a place where they can get to them easily.
Like cycle interrupters.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, exactly. Um, So they keep it on their phone or on a piece of paper in their pocket or in their wallet, something they can get to very easily anywhere they're at, because it takes time to intentionally interrupt those neural pathways. And you've got to do it consistently so that you don't, half the time you're building them and half the time you're interrupting them. The more you can do it, the quicker you're going to get into a more positive thinking patterns. So for some people, it's the gooder in their life and more general things like their spouse and how great their spouse is, or their children and how well their children are doing, or that they have children. They never
Hmm.
thought that they could have the life that they have, or their career, even if it's not going great, that they have a good career, they enjoy their job. Um, Happy things like their hobbies, like playing in the garden, or
Yeah.
for me, it's being a hooker and crocheting. Um, Animals are a great source of positivity for most of us.
Yeah.
Others need to be even more specific. It can't be just about their spouse. It needs to be about what a wonderful partner they have, or what wonderful friends they have, and certain things that the partner or their friends have done for them recently, or how they've acted and they feel loved.
Oh, especially if the issue that the downward spiral is about happens to be
Yes.
something with those friends or with that spouse or that work situation or
Hmm.
whatever, saying, okay, how I'm feeling might feel real, but in reality, I have really good friends who love me, or I have a job that I'm capable at and or capable of doing, and you know, yeah, my spouse might drive me crazy, but they love me very much, and they we can get through anything together because we've gotten through everything together, that kind of stuff.
Right. Right.
having some on hand that have to do with whatever that situation might be helpful in those downward spirals.
Yeah, that's good.
It's kind of like when you're listening to music. I have a horrible habit of halfway through a song, I skip the song because I'm tired of it.
Is that ADHD or is that
Oh,
just,
I don't know. It
oh,
could
we'll
be.
have to look and see what that
Comment
is.
and let me know. But yeah, I drive people crazy in the car with me unless they do the same thing, and then we're
Right.
just kind of trying not to skip on a part where the other person wants. But um, I'm a downward spiraler as well, and it helps to skip the song and say, okay, no, I'm not giving this any more of my time. I've already thought through this. Let's think about something else. Skip. And it's
That's a
not.
great analogy.
Yeah, it's not good to do if you have important things to do that are stressing you out. Like if you need to sit down and pay your bills, you can't go, I don't feel like doing that right now. Skip.
Right, right.
But
But you often feel better when you do a task like that that's kind of foreboding.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
okay,
that's
I got
true.
that off my plate. And the sooner you can do it in the day, the better. So it's off of your mind and you're not thinking about procrastinating it.
Yeah, yeah. Or confronting that person or not letting yourself live in confrontation over and over in your head when they're not even in the room.
Right, right. Get a plan for what you're going to say. We'll go over that in conflict resolution in the coming
Yeah.
episodes. But get a plan for what you're going to say and like, okay, I'm ready. Like,
Yeah.
yes.
But taking those looming thoughts and saying, okay, I'm skipping the song. I'm going to think about something else now.
Right. Good.
Thinking about hitting the button.
Yes.
So, um, many relationships seem to have a consistent fight, whether that's like with your parents or your children or your spouse or a friend or the same fight that you have with all of those people,
Mhm.
um, or the same, let me think, or the same strategies that you have in having fights with people. It's like I immediately get defensive and I immediately think you don't think good of me or you don't trust me or whatever the thing is. How do you stop having the same fight over and over again or doing the same, I guess, fighting moves over and over
Yeah.
again?
What we do, especially with our spouses,
Mm-hmm.
or if we're if we're younger or even older living with our parents, the primary person that we're interacting with on a daily basis, we tend to have the same arguments over and over again. And we have the same way that we can almost see how that argument goes. If we just think about, well, I'm going to say this, and then they're going to say this, and then he's going to say this, and then I'm going to say this, and it can go back and forth, and we can kind of map how this discussion or this conflict is going to play out.
Yeah.
And so, what you want to do is the same thing that you're doing within yourself is you want to interrupt those neural pathways because you are both in operating on your own neural pathways that have been going as long as that argument or that the way that you argue is going on, and you want to interrupt each of your neural pathways. So it's good if you can do it yourself, but it's also even better if the other person can be on board to talk about that some with you.
So if you're going to your, let's say your spouse, and you're saying, I need to talk to you about this, but instead of arguing and having a whole episode like we normally do, I want to come into this with um both of us having peace toward each other or having grace for each other.
Hmm.
Is it just a matter of like you go in like how you talk to them or
Well, that's what we'll cover in episode 3.
oh okay, I'm getting ahead of myself
Yeah,
then.
for conflict resolution.
Gotcha.
On the subject of neural pathways, what we want to do is recognize first that we're making the same kind of a loop or cycle in our argument with this person that goes around and around the same way and figure out how to stop the neural pathway and interrupt it. We're going to give some keys on how to do a lot of the conflict resolutions on episodes 3 and 4 of this season of how to approach the argument, but to just be aware of that you want to stop the argument as soon as you start getting in that mode. Because even with keys, it takes a while to get out of that loop because you've been in it for some length of time with that person.
Hmm.
And okay, we're doing the same exact thing and stopping it, interrupting the neural pathway the same way you do with your own mind.
Okay. Like, oh, wait, we're doing it again.
Right. Okay. I just said this and he said that. And now I've said this. Okay. And now we started calling each other names.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's stop this and back up and go over how we're supposed to do this again and work through it again, work through the steps again.
So when you have young kids like I do, and I have a toddler who has learned how to whine, and that's how she
And throw
primarily.
fits.
Oh yeah, that's the primary source of communication for her right now is to whine and
Hmm.
I want this, and the just the pitch of her whining just sends me through the roof.
Yes.
And I've had to really work at not blowing up or not completely shutting down and dissociating from the
Yeah.
situation, which
Yeah.
is not a good parenting strategy. I don't recommend it. But my husband and I have been working together on how to handle that and how to stop before it gets to the point where you want to yell or you want to just completely shut down or start crying or
Hmm.
whatever, because she does it all day, the
Yes.
whole freaking day.
Yes.
One book that's helped me with being able to the skip the song
Hmm.
is How to Stop Losing Your Shit with Your Kids by Dr. Carla Nomberg.
Yeah. We highly recommend this book. It is really good.
Yes, it really helped me a lot, which in turn helped my husband because I just sent him the info that I thought he would like the best.
Hmm. Good. Good plan.
But that has helped a lot. She says, do literally anything else,
Yes.
and
Yes. Get away from the
like,
situation and
yep,
yes.
walk away from it, start dancing, sing really loud if you need to, do something funny,
Right.
do literally anything else.
That's a great brain interruption right there because kids will get on your ever loving
Oh,
last nerve.
I know. I feel so guilty about that, but man,
Yeah, it's part of raising littles.
yeah, she hit 2 before she's 2. She's not even 18 months yet, and she's already hit 2, it
Yeah.
feels like.
Yes, you did that too. But they do get their brains back in their head until they're about 12.
Oh, good.
And
Oh,
then you go
good.
through something similar all over again. But you got a 10-year gap there usually.
So, Dr. Nomberg, I'm going to need you to make another book, How to Stop Losing Your Shit with Your Teenagers.
Right. Please, please get it out
Get it ready
now,
for me.
please.
I'll be ready in a few years.
So those are some how-tos as far as using your neuropathways. Of course, everybody's situation is different and there's so many different ways that you can use this technique. Just the basic knowledge of seeing where your neural pathways are taking you down the wrong path, like and interrupting those thoughts or those actions or those words, whatever network that we're circling around in, figuring out a way to interrupt those immediately as soon as possible, as many times as you can until you've interrupted long enough that you've created a new neural network in your head, in
Little
your
detour.
brain. Yeah, a little detour. So that after a lot of intentionality, a lot of consciously thinking through and changing what you're doing in your brain, then it will become, you'll create new habits and new ways of thinking in your brain. You won't have to think about it so much anymore. It'll just become the new part of who you are.
That's good.
So this has been great. It's been great to be back with season 2.
Season 2.
I'm glad you could sing. And next week we'll be talking about coping mechanisms so that we can give you some more skills on how to interrupt your neural pathways and deal with situations in your life that some things that you really just have to cope with and deal with until they get better, or in some cases they don't get better, and you need to learn how to live happier
Yeah.
with your coping mechanisms. So we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening. Remember, it can get better than this.